The question with which I closed the last segment was, of course, a trick question. Will Mrs. Clinton run for president again in 2016? Is a bean green? Of course she will. The left liberal elites who own, operate and staff America's entertainment media, and who will provide much of the financing for a Hillary campaign, certainly think so. There are already count 'em, 3 Hillary biopics in the works. The one we have most recently been told about is a 4-hour miniseries planned by NBC. That's NBC as in MSNBC, its cable channel, home of such progressive luminaries as Chris Matthews, whose approach to race relations is that he is terribly, terribly sorry he's white. Al Sharpton, who thinks he damn well ought to be. And Rachel Maddow, who in last year's election cast a write-in vote for Henry Wallace. NBC and the cable clone MSNBC are wholly owned by the Comcast Corporation, whose executive vice president, David Cohen, was a major fundraiser for Barack Obama in the last presidential election cycle. Cohen actually held a fundraiser for Obama in his Philadelphia mansion. So here's a prediction. The NBC miniseries will not cover the firing of employees from the White House Travel Office in 1993 when the Clintons came in. The employees, humble, non-political Washington worker bees, were fired so that the Clintons could reward their friends and accomplices with jobs. To cover up this fact, the Clintons, with Hillary apparently as the main player, alleged that the employees had been fiddling the books. One of them was actually charged with embezzlement. He was found not guilty at trial. I'll make further predictions. None of the Clintons' scuzzy business dealings, barefaced corruption, or weaselly evasions of responsibility, either in Arkansas or Washington, will be honestly covered in the NBC miniseries. Viewers will be left with no understanding as to why Bill Safire, a seasoned and responsible reporter, wrote in 1996 in the pages of the New York Times that, quote, Americans of all political persuasions are coming to the sad realization that our First Lady, a woman of undoubted talents who was a role model for many in her generation, is a congenital liar. End quote. So, NBC. Who else is preparing a Clinton biopic? Who do you think? CNN, of course. Greybeards among you may remember back in the 1990s when CNN was said to stand for Clinton News Network. Well, that's still what they stand for. The best you can say for CNN's political line is that it isn't quite as anti-white as MSNBC's. At CNN, in fact, gay trumps black. This is even the case when gay and black are the same person, as when gay black CNN reporter Don Lemon's chief contribution to coverage of the George Zimmerman trial was to ask lead prosecutor John Guy how he felt about people, presumably people like Don Lemon, calling him McDreamy. McDreamy. Ooh. And yet another Hillary movie. This one actually a real movie, and longer in the works. Rodham. That's the name of the movie, Rodham, a project of Temple Hill Entertainment. This has been a staple of the gossip columns for several months. Here's a plot synopsis from one of the early promotions. Quote, during the height of the Watergate scandal, Rising star Hillary Rodham is the youngest lawyer chosen for the House Judiciary Committee to impeach Nixon, but she soon finds herself forced to choose between a destined path to the White House and her unresolved feelings for Bill Clinton, her former boyfriend who now teaches law in Arkansas. End quote. So this is to be the young Hillary and the young Bill. There's been much speculation about casting for the role of young Hillary. One of the webzines actually ran a poll. I voted. But apparently nobody else thinks that Snooki fits the role. Not enough of the Midwestern co-ed WASP look, I suppose. For Bill, I wanted Charlie Sheen, but again I seem to be in a minority of one. Good thing I never set out to make a career as a casting director. So yes, Hillary will be running for Democratic presidential candidate in 2016, come hell or white water. The media lefties wouldn't be investing so much in her otherwise. Never mind the scandals, the travel office, the insider trading on cattle futures, the mysteriously missing law firm billing records that mysteriously reappeared, the healthcare task force, the Benghazi cover-up. The media can be depended on to bury all that. You look at Mrs. Clinton and you see a haggard old cynic in a muumuu. Stick around. After a couple of years of media brainwashing, the American people will look at her and see Joan of Arc riding to the rescue of her beleaguered nation. Enough of this petty personal stuff, though. What are the larger issues here?